Welcome to the Doing Life Together podcast, brought to you by Arch Impact Studios. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Owen.
I'm Eli.
And I'm Evan.
Today, we're going to talk about making the college decision. The key theme for the episode is reminding people that college is an investment of time and money. And whenever you are making investments of time and money, or your talent even, you really should have a plan. A good plan is always about what are you going to do, why are you going to do it, and how will you know you are successful at doing it. What we're hoping to get from this episode is a perspective to help you think through how to have healthy discussions as a family about college decisions, because it is, in fact, a decision that impacts the family dynamics. So therefore, it's a family decision. That doesn't mean everyone in the family should get the same say, but it is a family decision. And we're going to get there by, of course, our random question. Then we're going to talk about why do people go to college. We're going to discuss some alternatives to college that have been considered by us or other people we know. We're going to do a little fact or fiction on college. Then we're each going to provide our own perspective on our college journey or not college journey. And then we're going to talk, we'll end with the principles that guided how we helped each other work through those discussions. And of course, just want to remind you that these are our perspectives based on our experiences. This is not a dedicated recipe we think you absolutely should follow step by step for your life, because your best life is achieved when you consume information, then evaluate it to determine the wisest way to apply it to your life. These are our experiences. We're not guaranteeing success for anybody else, but we hope that you find something useful to help you on your life journey. On with the episode. All right, Eli, give us the random question of the episode.
What bends your mind every time you think about it?
What bends your mind?
I can go first.
Okay, go.
So one thing is space and the idea of space, because it's like, just crazy that it's so big and we're in the grand scheme of everything. We're just like this tiny little dot, basically. And also one question I was debating today is if -7.5 rounds to -8 or -7, because, you're always taught that 0.5 rounds up. So technically rounding up there would be rounding to -7. But at the same time, it feels like you should just round to -8. So,
okay, that's awesome. I've forgotten what the question was. What was the question of the day? What is something that bends your mind?
yeah, every time you think about it.
I'll do one, and it's Eli's fault that I have to think about it. It's if everybody sees like the same colors.
I was gonna say that.
So like if my green is the same as your green or something like that, it's just like there's no way to prove that we see the exact same thing and we don't just call the colors the same thing.
Let's say you're looking at a banana and it's yellow, right? So I see it as yellow, he sees it as yellow, we all see it as yellow. But if his yellow actually looks different than my yellow, so his yellow might be my green or something like that. But since we've all been taught that a certain object is a certain color, we just assign like the name to that, what we see when we like are told to see the color. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Yes. All right. Evan, you got one?
Mine also came from Eli. We debated this one. Is water wet?
Okay.
Yeah.
I still don't know my answer.
That's fantastic. So I have been doing some studying recently about how people learn. And there's this body of evidence about how people, like, one of the reasons you need sleep, a lot of what you learned or discovered throughout the day is just sitting there in your consciousness. And then when you fall asleep, that's when it starts to connect and you actually do your learning. So when you don't sleep, you learn less. And that just blows my mind to think that that's the way the brain works. Consideration for making the college decision. You know, part of the benefit of what we're going through on this podcast is a multi-generational perspective. And I think college is one of those things where, depending on what generation you are, your view of college is like well-grounded. And so what I mean by that, if you think about like the baby boomer generation, I think they were kind of meh. College was just becoming a thing, right? Not everyone did it. There were plenty of ways that people felt like they could make a good living without going to college. And then we got into Gen X. By the time we got to Gen X, it was like the belief was if you wanted to achieve your financial goals, you needed to go to college. Like if you didn't go to college, you were going to end up working at a job where you're going to struggle to survive. And then millennials, it was like college, a bachelor's degree is not good enough. It was like, you got to get a master's. Like everyone's graduating from college. So you got to go out there and you got to do more than just get a bachelor's. And then you all Gen Z, I think we're back to the kind of maybe college, maybe not. But that's just that last one is my opinion. I'm not of your generation. I've interacted a lot with the other three. So I guess that's what I would start with for you guys. What have you heard your peers talking about when it comes to making the college decision? Like, how do they think of college?
I think for most, it's still going to college is what they just naturally do. But there's certainly some who don't think that way. But I think, I don't know, I'd say at least 75, 80% of my grade ended up going to college.
Yeah, I agree. I think basically all of my friends are going to college. I know some people that aren't, but for the most part, most people are going.
I think most of my grade wants to attend college, but we're not quite that close yet, so we don't really talk that much about it.
And where do you think that belief comes from? Like, where do you think they're picking up on this still college or bust idea?
I think just most of their parents went to college and the family around them went to college, and it's just like what everybody does, and that's how that people associate good jobs with college, and so they just naturally are like, I need to do this. And I also think if you don't have what you want to do figured out yet, you just go on to college because it gives you more time to figure it out. And I think most people my age don't have what they want to do figured out yet, so they just decide to give themselves more time and go to college.
It's a really interesting perspective. Those that you know who didn't end up going to college or made a different decision, do you have any idea what went into their thought process?
I know some of them that went to like military, stuff like that. And then there were others that just, I don't know. A lot of those that didn't do as well in high school, like that I know of, ended up doing some sort of trade or something of that sort.
Like I said, most of my friends are going to college, so I think the only people I know that aren't are more acquaintances or like they're on the same sports teams or something like that. So I don't know a lot about what went into their decision. My assumption would be that it's what their parents do. I think it might be what their parents do. So like going into trades and stuff. So
I think it's worth calling out because it's come up 2-3 times already, right? Whether you go to college or you don't, the role of the parent or the people around you plays a huge part in it. You know, right? Like either my family's in the trades, so that seems like the right path for me. And if not, like what's going to be the consequence? Or my family went to college, so if I don't, what might be the consequence? You also mentioned if you don't know, go to college. I think that's a terrible slogan. Colleges would love that slogan, but I think that's not such a great slogan. And we'll talk about why here later. All right, let's do a little college versus non-college fact or fiction. All right. What percentage of adults in the United States over 25 have attended 4 years of college? What percentage?
62.
Bro, that was the number I had in my head.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go 63.2.
Okay. Owen.
I'm gonna go lower. 4 years, so they had to do the full 4 years.
It does not say graduate, but they've done 4 years of college.
I'm gonna go with 47%.
All right. So we're thinking close to 50% is where we're going at. So let's fact check. It's actually only 35% of men and 37% of women.
I was close.
Yeah, that's definitely lower than I thought.
Yeah. Do you think that has anything to do with, like, I don't know, where we live or the people we hang out with? Like, it just seems like it would be more.
Definitely.
For sure.
All right, let's do this one. I'm going to use the word median, Eli. There's probably a lot of people listening who, like me, don't know what median means. So can you remind people what median is?
It's just the middle number. So if you like line them all up by highest to, or lowest to highest and just go to the middle number.
All right. So typically it's a little more accurate than average, they say.
The outliers don't affect it as much.
All right. So the median income of college graduates, if you get a bachelor's degree, what is the median income?
I'm thinking 62.
I was going to say 57.
You're saying 67?
50.
57 from Evan, 62 from me.
I'll go 68.
The answer is 69,000.
Good
Wait,
guess.
I said 57.
Yeah, you were the furthest.
All right. What about if you're in the trade? So what is we mentioned trades is another big one. What is the median income of a licensed electrician?
$87,000.
Okay.
I'm going to go 77.
Okay.
I'll go 65.
Yep. So the college graduate was 69. The median income of a licensed electrician is 53.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm off.
That's just crazy. All right. We got three more. What is the average amount borrowed by college students in the United States? So if you go to get your bachelor's degree, what is the average amount that you're going to borrow?
$74,000.
Okay.
$59,000.
I mean, 92.
Yep. You guys are crazy. The answer is $29,000. So the average amount borrowed by college students in the United States is $29,000.
For 4 years?
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't got 29,000 per year?
No, it was 29,000 for 4 years.
That's weird.
But I find this interesting. But then what is the average balance of people with student loan debt?
What do you mean?
What's an average balance?
Expand.
So they're borrowing 29,000, but what do they end up actually owing? So I borrowed 29,000. What do I actually owe?
38,000.
64.
That is definitely not that high. I'm going to go – well, we've been shooting high all day, so let me go with 36.
Owen nailed it. It's $38,000. And the reason that's important is as you're thinking about college, one of the key elements is the cost. And what people need to be aware of is depending on the kind of loans you get, even though you don't have to start paying them back until you graduate, they begin accruing interest as soon as you take out the money. So you may be taking out loans thinking, I'm fine until I graduate. But then you graduate and you're like, oh my gosh, it's way more than I thought. And then on average, how many years does it take to pay off your student loan debt?
38.
Okay.
Like until you're 38 years old.
Until you're 38 years old, that would be
So that would be like 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking more like 12 years.
Okay.
I don't even know what to guess, but I was thinking like 22.
All right. The answer is 20 years. or as Evan put it, until you're 38. So those are just some fun facts. But the reason those are important is because of a couple things that Owen said, right? One was going to college is something that just like everybody else does. And if you don't know what you want to do, start with college, right? Those are two things you said. And the reason that's important is what other decision in your life would you make that's going to cost you $38,000? And you're just like, I'm not really sure what to do. So I'm just going to spend $38,000 to figure it out.
None of them.
A really expensive wedding.
Oh, actually, you're probably pretty right. That's a common thing. But anyway, I think that's just right. Like this is an investment of time and money. 4 years, $38,000 on average. Actually, I think now it's like 6 years, $38,000 on average. But it's just really important to think about. Like, why are you going to spend that money if it's not part of your plan? All right, so let's talk about. I'm going to give you guys my perspective on how we thought about guiding you through this as parents, and then you get the opportunity to say fact or fiction. So I think when we talk about it as parents, it started when you guys were really young and has continued throughout, but we really encouraged you guys to think about what matters most in your life and to develop that definition of success for your life by yourself. So that was the most important part, foundational part. And then after that, as a family, I feel like we'd spent a lot of time exposing you guys to lots of different things. So you had lots of opportunities to figure out what you might enjoy or like. And of course, probably should warn people that we led a lot of those experiences, but we guided based on your maturity level. So as you got more mature, you got to make more and more of your decisions. We would regularly talk about goals and what you thought you wanted and how different decisions would impact your ability to achieve your goals. And then we guided you all from the side as much as possible. And what I mean by that is we recognize life is hard. So you need to learn that you can do hard things and that you can recover when you can't. So you're not always going to be able to do the hard thing. And so when you can't, learning how to recover from that is important. And I feel like when it came to the college decision, we took a pretty similar approach. We said, all right, as you're thinking about college, what are your life goals? Not just your career goals, not just your educational goals. What are your life goals? Based on your experiences, why do you believe that is a good goal for you? How does college fit into achieving that goal? But then at the end of the day, we just got out of the way and said, all right, it's your decision. Make your way. So I'm going to ask, with the fear of being totally embarrassed, is that true? Do you feel like that's what we did as parents?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was easy. I'm now unembarrassed. All right, sweet. All right, so now what we're going to do is let's talk about different perspectives. So we're going to let Owen go first. So Owen, why don't you tell everybody what's your current situation?
All right. I'm currently in my second semester at Grand Canyon University, so end of freshman year. Yeah.
Awesome. And how did you go about deciding to end up at Grand Canyon University?
Well, I decided. Well, first I just started visiting a bunch of colleges and seeing what all of them had to offer, like different majors, dorms, intramurals, whether it was Christian or not, the price, different factors like that. After visiting quite a few colleges, I didn't really find any that I truly loved. And then I ended up visiting Grand Canyon in January of my high school senior year. And I loved it within a day of being there. And deep down, I knew it was probably the best place for me. And at that point, it just became about trying to convince myself to take the leap and move across the country away from family, friends, everything I had ever known. And I think that probably took me about between 3 weeks and a month probably to fully commit to that, and then didn't look back ever since.
Nice. So what I heard you say is that as you were thinking about it, the price mattered to you. Did they have a major? When you say major, I'm assuming that's because you knew or have an idea of what you want to do when you get into the workforce. You want to make sure it matched. Is that fair?
Yeah. Right now I'm majoring in finance, and I for sure wanted to do something in business. So, I mean, almost every college has finance major, but I wanted to look at the college the business college and all that stuff at each one and see which one had the best and all that stuff.
Nice. And then you said the on-campus experience. So for you, what are some of the things that mattered to you as in terms of on-campus experience?
Well, one thing that really sold it was January, and I was coming from 20 degrees, and I got there and it was about 65, 70. So that was definitely very nice. So the weather was a big draw here. I love the dorms here. I get my own bathroom. Well, I have a roommate, but we have our own bathroom. It's not communal bathrooms. And there's a shared living space with another room right next to me right now. And so that was definitely very nice to have. And then just all of the different things around campus. Like there's a massive gym here with like 12 different basketball courts or something like that, and a bunch of different weightlifting gyms. And I like doing those things. So those were big draws. And then, yeah, I don't know. Nice college building or business building with a bunch of updated technology and stuff like that.
So are you saying the key to good college decision-making is warmer weather with gyms, unshared bathrooms, and nice buildings? Or are you just saying that those are what were important to you?
That is definitely not the only thing you need to base your college decision on, but I also wanted a Christian school that was aligned with my views, and I get that here with almost everybody I meet. And just different opportunities to spend time with other Christians. So those were huge draws as well. But most of the colleges I looked at had that sort of stuff. So then it just came down to like the littler things. And this one was just by far the nicest. So obviously gyms, dorms, all that stuff. Those were things that I valued, not necessarily what everybody has to value, just stuff that I felt like I wanted.
Yep. But you made a list basically, and as you were going around, you were checking things off the list or saying, no, this doesn't meet my requirements.
Yeah. And like I said, all the other ones, they had some of the stuff, but none of them had everything I was looking for. And because of that, I spent a lot of time thinking, and I really didn't like any of the ones that I looked at. Didn't think any of them were right for me. And then I got here and went on the tour, and I was like, okay, this has literally everything that I have on my list. And the only downside was it was further away. And so that's why it took me a couple weeks to fully dive into that decision. But otherwise, yeah, it's been perfect.
Nice. Is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
I think in the end things worked out for me. And I did end up making the final trip to Grand Canyon where I found the right place for me. But at one point there was a chance that I was done looking at colleges and I was just going to settle for one that I didn't truly think fit me well. And I think if that had happened, I would not be happy with my decision, obviously. So I think based on how things went, there's nothing I would have changed, but I just would go back and not allow myself to even consider settling for a school that doesn't feel right.
Nice. What has been the hardest thing about the transition?
For me, the hardest thing was just leading up to coming here, just having to get ready and just the feeling that my whole life was about to just completely flip on its head. And I was not prepared for it is what I felt. But then like within 24 hours of moving in, I knew that I chose the right place and that it would be a great experience. And obviously there's times where I miss my family and miss friends, miss being just at home. But that would be anywhere. So I think,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Is there anything that you did or other people did to kind of support you before the transition and then first moments into the transition that helped make it easier?
Well, I think you guys definitely helped make it easier because even though I'm sure it was hard for you guys to let me go somewhere so far, you guys didn't let that influence your ability to guide me to here and allow me to choose the right place for me. So I think that definitely helped me.
I like that. So don't let your own emotions as a parent get in the way of your child making a decision that is important to them.
It was, for me at least, it was already hard enough for me to push myself to make the decision and leave. So if my parents hadn't been supportive and told me to choose what was best for me and stuff like that, then there's a chance I wouldn't have been able to make the leap.
Nice. So parents, there you go. Just remember, at the end of the day, it's your kid's decision, and your ability to support them is really important. All right. Is there anything that, as parents, you wish we would have done differently?
Not really. I think as parents, though, just make sure your kid doesn't settle for a place he wouldn't be happy at, or he or she, I guess. But like, you guys helped keep pushing me to look for the right school. But then I also didn't do a great job of showing you guys that I hadn't found that school yet. But yeah, just making sure that your kid doesn't just settle for a school that is okay and keeps looking until they find the right one for them.
I think it's really good. So what I heard you say is, as parents, don't let your kids settle. Mm-hmm. And then as kids, you got to be honest as you're making this decision. If you're feeling like you're settling or not finding what you're looking for. And a lot of that, though, requires back to something you started, is as you're exploring, having that list of things that are important to you for a college.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. All right, let's switch it over. Eli, you're on the hot seat now, buddy. So Eli, tell the people what stage of the college process you're in.
I'm a senior in high school, so I'm currently in the middle of making my decision. I've been doing that for a while, so I've narrowed it down pretty far, but I still have not made my exact college decision yet.
And same idea. How are you thinking about deciding what college to go to?
Very similar stuff to my brother. Just going on visits, making sure the campus is right, because making sure they have the major I want to do, or at least something that's going to lead me down the right direction towards what profession I want to do. Another aspect I've been looking into in colleges is, like Owen was saying, finding people that have beliefs similar to mine. So my two current colleges I'm looking into are completely different in basically every possible way. One of them is closer to home. One of them is really far away. One of them is typically has one side of the political views. The other one has another. One of them's Christian. One of them's not. So I found a place where I can live with other Christian guys and have like a built-in, friend group when I move right away. Grand Canyon's facilities and everything are nicer, so that's one thing pulling me there. And my brother has said some stuff that has really made me want to go to Grand Canyon. So I don't know. It's just a really tough decision for me.
I think that's fair, right? Like, Owen's made the decision. He feels really good about it. But what we heard him say is that as he was leading up to that decision, he's right where you are now. And I think that's really important for kids and parents to understand, is that it's an emotional decision as much as it is a mental decision. And so it's really important to have those thoughts in place on why you're doing it, what you're hoping to achieve, so that you can ground yourself in that reality as you're managing through the emotions of a decision. Like it's come up a couple of times. So our family, our faith, our personal faith, our family faith is really important to us. But I don't want anyone to walk away feeling like this advice is only for Christians. Like if you're making a college decision, an important decision about your finances, your time, how you're going to spend your talents, it's religion agnostic. There's just good advice. There's good, solid advice. And what you should hear is, although I think what you guys are saying for you, that Christian experience was important, what you're really saying is just surrounding yourself in a culture that matches what's important to you. Like if you're an arts person, find an arts culture, maybe, if that's really going to keep you grounded. If you're a sports person, find, the sports teams you want to root for. It's just about finding that culture that's going to make you feel comfortable and confident. Has there been anything that has been really helpful that your mom or I have done as parents, or maybe another set of parents or a counselor or anybody that's helped?
I know I shouldn't really be following Owen's answers exactly a lot, but one thing that has helped me is you guys just telling me to make sure I make the decision that's right for me, because all of my friends are going to Ohio State for the most part. So it's would have been fairly easy for me to just tell myself, okay, all my friends are at Ohio State. I can hang out with them all the time. I can just go to Ohio State. But you guys have made sure to push me to make the right decision for myself rather than just follow what my friends are doing.
No, I think that's another really good point, right? Like your friends, they don't have to live with the decision that you make. So it might be the right decision for them to go to a certain school, but if you go to that school and it's not right for you, you're the one who's going to have the regret, the debt, the bad experience, not be on the path forward. So I think it's really, really smart. Do you have any friends that are getting really bad advice or advice that kind of makes you go, I wish?
I wouldn't necessarily say I have any that are getting bad advice. I know I do have some friends that are kind of going down the path I was just talking about, where they just are very comfortable with like the people at the school they're going to, and it's more about them having friends where they go, I think, than them going where it's best for them. So that's one thing I think is not very good. And then I've got another friend who seems like he might be solely making the decision from the academic standpoint, and he just wants to go to the most prestigious university he can get into. But I don't know if that's going to result in him actually liking his college experience, but it may. So I don't know for sure.
We got two more perspectives, Evan and then myself. Evan, you have said the trades might be what you want to do. So that's different than your two bros, but that's totally fine. Tell people what's kind of leading you towards that decision-making process.
For me, it was just, I love being outdoors. I like building things. I like pretty much doing anything that's outside and involves physical work. So for me, I just thought that sitting at a desk all day would not be something I could do every day of the week. So I just thought that the trades would be a good place to go, just so I can actually enjoy what I do when I grow up.
So one thing I really like about your decision-making process is that you are currently a sophomore and you're starting to explore this now, right? So you've even made some decisions in your high school career to see if this is the right thing for you. You want to share some of what you've started to do there as someone considering the trades?
So I'm going to the Delaware Area Career Center, which is basically like where you can go to school to learn specifically about your trade. It has hands-on stuff. It has job shadowing opportunities. So basically it just gets you set to be working right out of high school for the trade you want specifically, rather than continuing to go to school and then needing to go to college after for something that I potentially wouldn't want to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that idea of a career center and, testing it out before you get there, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that brings up another important point about the college making decision. You don't want to wait too long, right? Like getting into good schools is hard. So if you wait too long, that's bad. Deciding college isn't right for you. If you want to do that, you want to start that process early, learn that way. So starting early is another good piece of advice, I think. You don't need to make your decision super early, but you shouldn't wait to the last minute to even think about what is it exactly that I want to do with my life. And I just want to point out that although Evan is considering a totally different path, his thought process is very similar, right? What's important to me? Why is this going to be the right choice? How does it help me achieve my long-term goals? Because right now, Evan, if I were to tell you, we've talked about it, there's one thing that would totally change that decision for you. And what would that be?
Playing baseball in college.
Right. So that's another factor, right? So as a family, we've done a lot of exploration of that and figured out that it's a lot of work. Owen and Eli both looked at that pretty seriously, and then we're like, oh yeah, I don't want to go to school to do a job on top of my schoolwork. But it's something that's part of your decision-making process. Why? Because it's important to you. But these themes keep coming up. I think it's really important that people hear those themes of being intentional, starting early, really thinking it through, knowing what you want, not being overly emotional. And I think that's really good.
Dad, what was your college journey?
Well, Evan, I really appreciate you asking me that. So I was what they call a non-traditional college student. So when I graduated high school, I had no desire to go to college. I wanted to just start a job similar to what Evan described, but I was much less planful. So I just started working a entry-level job at a bank. Thankfully, I got some breaks and some good opportunities, and I think today they would call it a hustler. I hustled. No, they would not call it that. That would be terrible. I think that means something negative. I worked hard. What do they call it when you work really hard now? Grinder.
Grind?
I was good at grinder.
Well,
So,
just
I wouldn't call
grind. Just grind.
Yeah.
You were on the grind.
Really grind. I was on the grind. So I was really good at out working everybody because I had goals and I wasn't going to let anything get in the way of my goals. But early on, my goal was just to make money, which was not great once I started a family because I realized that's not the goal I wanted. So I had the total opposite approach of what we tried to instill in you. I just went and I just started doing stuff. Thankfully, it turned out okay. But eventually, I got to a point in my career where I started not getting jobs because they said, well, this job requires a college degree. Is that always true? No. But does it require the qualification of a degree? Probably. I heard this stat the other day that even though most jobs now are removing that qualification, they're still only hiring people who have college degrees. So even though they'll let you apply and make it seem like, oh, no, anyone can apply, the hiring practices are still people with degrees. So I did not go to college right away. Do I regret that decision? No, because it worked out for me. But it definitely required a lot more grinding than it would have probably had I done a more traditional path. But once again, I didn't have a good sense for what my goals were. I didn't really know. I just was like, high school's over. I don't want to go to college. I'm just going to start working. So I was much less planful coming out of high school. And I would not, we've encouraged all of you to be more planful because we just think it's the better way. So I would not advise being unplanful with whatever it is that you decide to come up with. Gentlemen, here's my key points. Feel free to add in anything that you feel like I missed or you comes to mind. I think it's really important for us as parents. If you're a parent listening, it's really important to think about helping your child grow into this decision early on. So you want to start really early with instilling in your kid confidence. Spend those early childhood years helping your kid figure out what makes them uniquely them. So, like, what do they really like to do? Expose them to a variety of experiences across a lot of different things. Don't assume that your kids are a carbon copy of you. My gosh, parents, we got 5 kids. All of them are slightly different. And had we tried to parent them all the same way, no one would be happy. So we learned that we just got to engage with each kid in life as they go. As they mature, you give them more freedom. But it's really about helping guide and influence their lives. You want to make sure you encourage your kid to have a definition of success for their life. And it's not just about the career, but it's about their entire life. And it's not one of those, oh my gosh, if I don't do this one thing, if I don't achieve this one thing, my life is a failure. But it's more just like so that you have a North Star in your life, so that you realize every decision you make is either moving you closer to that North Star or further away. And if you know what direction you want to head, and you know where you're going, it doesn't mean you're going to get there in a straight line, but at least you can evaluate each decision through the lens of, is it helping me get to my goal? And I will say this, might be an unpopular opinion, but most of the people I know who are miserable, it's because they have the wrong plan, not because they have no plan. So they have a very unintentional, less thoughtful plan of what success is, and they're just miserable because they keep doing it, and they're like, I'm doing everything. It doesn't feel great. I'm doing everything. It's not getting me where I want to go, and it's probably because you have the wrong plan. And this is an important one. You guys kind of mentioned it when you talked about making your own decisions or supporting you, but your child's success is not tied to your own success as an adult. So, like, get over yourself. Your child's life is not a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of who they are and how they choose to manage through their life experiences. So give your kid the freedom to make their own choice. Give some guidance, but don't decide for them. And then be supportive. Owen mentioned it. Eli mentioned it. Evan mentioned it. Just be supportive as whatever decision they make. Owen, you said it. It's kind of a hard decision. It was terrifying to make. Had we not been supportive, it would have been even worse. Yeah. You might be home now and we'd all be miserable because you would have given up on yourself. Yeah, you're right. That didn't come out the way I hoped it would. We would be sad because you would have given up on your goal. All right. And that's it. I think that's all I got. What do you guys got? Any last closing thoughts?
Nah.
Covered it for me.
You guys are lame. You got to come up with something. I would say I do want to add this one thing. So if the closing thought. So if college is part of your plan, you guys are making fun of me. I hate that. I do encourage people to check out our YouTube channel.
I wasn't making fun of you.
Nobody's making fun of you. Except when you made this face at the beginning.
Some of the visual looks I get are just phenomenal. So I encourage you to check us out on YouTube. It's worth the watch just to see my kids mock me. But if the goal of going to college should be to help you get a job or advance your life in some way, the internet now allows you, if you just want to know stuff and learn stuff, just go on the darn internet. It's free, and you can learn a whole lot of stuff. If you read, I should know this stat. If you read, it's like 7 books. If you read like 7 books on a subject, you'll know more than 80% of the world on that subject. You don't need to go to college. What's that?
Said it's got to be more than 80%.
Well, I'm making it up as I go.
Subject.
I know it's a low number of books and a high percentage of people than you know more than.
Probably 7 would probably be about 99% of people.
All right.
I was thinking 98.
Oh, okay.
This is going downhill in a hurry. My point is, if you're going to go to college, the goal is to help you get a job. because you have a financial goal or a career goal that requires that degree. Jobs require both skills and connection. You are going to go to college. It's really important to ask this one question that didn't come up. What % of graduates from the school get a job in my field of study? And what does the school do to help drive that number? So like if in your field of study, you go to a college and it only graduates like 2% of people have a job after 2 years, probably not the right choice. If it graduates 75% and 90% of that gets jobs within 2 years, 6 months, whatever, it's probably a better fit. So be sure to factor that into your decision. All right. I think that's all we got. All right, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Doing Life Together podcast. We really enjoy bringing you content. Our next episode is going to be special because it's going to be our first episode with another guest. We're going to add another generation to the podcast. We're going to talk about leadership. Leadership is one of those things that has really transitioned what people expect out of a leader, what our understanding of good leadership looks like. I would argue that good leadership has always looked the same. We just understand it differently. And so next episode, we're going to talk about leadership from a multi-generational perspective. We're going to bring my father-in-law, Dan, onto the podcast. Dan spent his entire career teaching leadership development. And so he's my wife's dad. So he's older than the rest of us. So we'll just have that multi-generational perspective on leadership. Until next time, live your best life. Don't forget to subscribe to the button or like and subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Go to archimpacts.com for lots of free content and all the resources for this episode.